How do you keep your children entertained in the summer holidays? Welcome to Mark and Pete. Now, school holidays are wonderful. At least that's what people without children keep telling us. Yes, this is Mark and Pete, two blokes with half an opinion. Now, here's our first thought.
This summer, to stop the little minds getting bored, remember the golden rule that they should not be ignored. Just dump them on the grandparents' doorstep and go abroad, and peace and quiet will be your reward. Well, that is one possible technique. Yes, every year, what do parents do? Well, they always look forward to a great summer holiday, and then they realize they've got children. What do? Well, Mr. Pete, yes, you've been through this ordeal many times.
Yes.
Now, we're going to talk about various tips and tricks in terms of what you can do just to keep the little minds entertained. But what say you when you think about the summer holidays?
Well, the summer holidays, a long stretch of time. And there's been talk over the years of changing the way we do school so there aren't such long summer holidays. But of course, these summer holidays, which you may think, well, they're great for teachers, gives them a break or gives them time to prepare for the next year, which is what really happens. But for other people in work, they don't have that long holiday. So if both parents are at work, what do you do? It ends up being quite difficult. There are ways that aren't all that necessarily that expensive that you can get around it. But in the end, it's just the way that the whole of society is structured, such as having two parents working just makes things very, very difficult, almost impossible.
Well, indeed. Now, we can sort of talk about this because, ironically, there is a charity called Pregnant Then Screwed. Yes, honestly, there really is. And it found that 89% of parents had used annual leave to cover holiday childcare. A third had taken unpaid leave, and half said childcare costs affected their ability to afford essentials. Now, of course, this isn't a surprise, but what is a concern is that when children come out of school, there is more time and attention that's required. If you're going on, a long journey to, say, the coast, etc., you've always got the bickering, the squabbling. Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Yes, and that's just the parents.
I want to wee. That's just the parents, exactly. And then you end up finding that really the holiday, you need a holiday to get out of to have a holiday. I mean, the bottom line is, what do you do? So here's some tips. Now, some people would say, always make sure that you have a structure to your holiday. Maybe it's the idea that you put them, in something where you have a game or you have a day out, and then maybe you do go somewhere where it is a journey and you visit friends and relatives. But there are other things that you can do. So, Mr. Pete, I know that things like summer camps are often considered. It's very popular in America. But tell me a little bit about those type of things, techniques that you've used that keep your children passive.
Well, to give them a say, there are things to do. So if you are able to spend some time with your children, you can take them on walks out in the woods. You can take them to play in the park. You can take them to museums, which are usually free. And there are also things like splash parks and paddling pools and places out that are good for the summer.
Adventure parks, yes.
There's the well-known, let's say a niche activity called geocaching, which is basically finding things that are hidden using using clues put onto your phone, and that's it's free basically to do. So there's lots of things that you can do. There's maybe something more educational, like Raspberry Pi projects, as in the little computer that you can put together yourself. You can go and visit your grandparents, and as you mentioned in the poem, leave them there. You could volunteer together at various projects like food banks, etc. There's lots of things you could do, but if you're not around because you're both working, then it becomes more difficult. Are you going to pay for childcare or well, there are some free or relatively cheap options, like a local library often runs some free holiday clubs and things like Lego playing sessions and that sort of thing. And the main thing that I would point people to is your local church, Anglican Church, Roman Catholic Church, Methodist the churches. they do tend to put on holiday clubs. It's one of the things they do, often with a Bible theme. But even if you're not religious, that doesn't matter. It's just the theme for the holiday club. So it's well worth considering. There normally is a small charge, but it really is a small charge, like a few pounds, rather than the hefty amount you'd have to pay for someone professionally doing childcare,
Yes.
and that's because it's run by volunteers.
Well, I
So,
agree. I agree with
so
the
all
church.
those are some ideas that I certainly took advantage of.
I certainly know when I was a child, we had with our local church fetes, and they would have carnivals as well. So
Yeah,
it
yeah,
didn't really cost that much money. But what it did do, you had all the time to prepare for it. You had obviously the occasion, the festivities that actually happened, and the actual live session itself. But these are sort of good attractions, and it gets the
yes.
community involved, especially around the church. But
What
what say you about going to places like zoos or
well, I think that
things like that?
I think that that's good if you can afford it. That's the problem, is that things are expensive. Going to zoos are great. Often have lots of activities for children, and you can, if you um, plan it reasonably well, you can stay there all day without losing their interests. So yeah, if you're with them, that can be done. Obviously, a child carer professional would take them there for you if you pay them, but then that becomes very expensive. So what I'm saying is that sort of thing is good. There's a zoo very near where I live, without giving things away too much. Don't want too many people coming around, but
Mhm.
the area where I live is right near um, a little zoo, and you can go there. It isn't too expensive because it's one of these small zoos. So you can look out for those that are dotted around the country, not just the big zoos that you can go to. And there are other entertaining places. If you're just looking something, if you're looking for somewhere to keep your children entertained, um, the places like stately homes will put on activities for children
That's
during
right.
the summer holidays, and
Yeah,
they're getting used to doing it. They put a lot of effort into it. Now, I used to work for the National Trust, and they put in a lot of effort into that in their
yeah.
places around the country. So maybe you could look into that. If you're able to take them somewhere, there are options available. But it's all those that I mentioned to do with cost. Your children, when they look back on the holiday, aren't going to remember how much you spent. It's actually spending, if you can spend the time with them, organize something when you spend the time with them. I mean, taking out
Yes.
your kids and playing a game of football with them in the park may be a better thing to do than something that's far more expensive.
I agree with that. And
I mean,
also parents could do other things.
the Bible says, this is Psalm 127, children are a heritage from the Lord. That's a blessing to you. Spending time with them actually is something that you will look back and remember, as well as the children. It's worth doing.
Well, indeed. And of course, the other thing that parents can do is they can collaborate. I mean, having parties. I mean, I know
Yeah,
there's a little bit of cost, but it's certainly cheaper, say, having parties in each one another's houses.
yeah.
And to your point, you can have activities in gardens or even the local park. And I think that's the crucial thing. It's about building the memories, isn't it? Because it's a
Yeah.
learning exercise, but it's something that the children will remember.
But for new parents, I mean, if you've been, had a child for a few years, or you've already had one child and others on the way, you'll already know this. But for you can be tempted as a parent, as your child grows up and can voice their concerns, to respond immediately to the statement, "I'm bored." And actually, boredom is pretty good for them. So, and you'll find if you immediately try and fill the space, you don't leave room for them to fill it themselves. That you can, um, as I like to do with children, say, "Oh, what can I do?" And I say, "Read a book, do your maths homework," and list some things for them to do. Uh, but I don't really expect them to do any of those things. They will find their own thing to do. Uh, and so you need to remember that actually boredom is an important thing to experience for us adults as well. Don't always be on your phone. Actually, with your kids, don't let them have a phone to have around all the time. At least not when they're teenage years. Leave them being bored for a bit, and they'll find their own things to do. That's my little advice. Don't be you're not you're their parent, not their servant. So don't be bullied.
Well, there you go. It's a good tip. Keep the minds creative. They will
Yeah.
be creative, but keep an eye on them just in case. But let's listeners, what do you think? I mean, you may be a parent, you may have children of different ages. What are your tips for a survivor's guide to the summer holidays? Let us know.